Hey yo YouTube, Flowcat here. After playing Genshin Impact for more than a year now, I've seen people come and go, Genshin Impact is a game that can elicit pretty strong emotions from people. So not everyone makes it over a year with the game. And I've been thinking about that. I've been thinking about what are the main reasons that cause people to quit this game or to dislike it. And so today we're going to talk about those two things one by one. Let's jump right into it. The first of these two things that ruins Genshin Impact for people is expectation. Now, this is a pretty broad thing just to say expectation, but I promise that I actually mean something by this. Expectations are really important in the gaming industry. People often start playing a certain video game because they are seeking a particular experience they wish to have. I've heard people say many times that they started playing a video game, but they quit because they expected it to be a certain way, and it didn't. It was different than they expected. They might not even be saying that the game was bad or that it was poorly made. They literally might just be saying that they wanted it to be different than it is, and for that reason, they just don't want to play it. And how exactly does this relate to Genshin Impact? Well, Genshin Impact is an action-adventure RPG with housing mechanics and story elements and cooking, and well, you get the point. People don't start the game because of all of those things together. They generally start the game because of one reason in particular. Maybe they saw a really cool character they like, or they just saw the combat and thought it was cool, or maybe they saw the housing system and thought that it looked pretty. Whatever the reason is, they started playing the game for that particular reason. Now, inherently, that's not a bad thing. That's how we generally judge whether a game is worth our time or not, is whether it gives us a particular experience. We probably played a game in the past that gave us a particular experience that we enjoyed, and so now we're seeking that again. And while this isn't inherently problematic, it is problematic when we talk about a game like Genshin Impact. The reason why is because Genshin Impact is a game that has many different facets to its gameplay. The game is not primarily about combat, nor is it about housing, nor is it about story, nor is it about exploration. For now, Genshin Impact is more of a bit of everything kind of game. And that's not even the main issue with expectation. And now we're going to pivot for just a moment and talk about roguelike games. Roguelike games are games that are built on randomness. They're often short games that take only a couple hours, maybe just under an hour, to play a single time through the game. Now, what makes each time playing through the game unique is that there's a lot of randomness, and you get different upgrades, you might have different maps, different enemies, and therefore you'll have a different experience with the game, even though the fundamental mechanics are the same every time. Inherently, this isn't a bad game system, and people enjoy these games quite a lot. They have a lot of replayability, and they're generally extremely simple so that they're not too hard to learn, and you can get a lot of gameplay out of them for very little effort. So why are we talking about roguelike games? I mean, Genshin Impact kind of plays like a long roguelike game. There are lots of elements of randomness that cause each experience with Genshin Impact to be unique, whether that be the wishing system and the characters you get, or the weapons that you get, or that might be the artifact system and the various artifacts that you get on your account. Whatever the case may be, these elements of randomness give your account a sort of special identity in that your account has a unique composition of artifacts, weapons, and characters that you've gotten based off your luck. And like I said before, inherently this isn't a bad thing. There's no good or wrong about this system, except for when you apply expectations. You see, the people who have a bad experience with Genshin Impact are not the people who lose their 50-50 most of the time. The people who have a bad experience with Genshin Impact are the people who expect to get a certain character and don't, or expect to win a 50-50 and don't. Genshin Impact plays like a long roguelite game. meaning that from start to finish, each playthrough is kind of decided by randomness. Now, I know some of you are going to go down in the comment section and you're going to be like, oh, I'm so furious. RNG is bad. I want the stuff I want and I should be able to pick it. And I'm going to say, you know, the people who have a bad experience with Genshin Impact are not the people who lose 50-50 the most often. People that have a bad experience are the people that expect to get a certain character and don't, or expect to get a certain weapon and don't. You know what I mean? So the main problem there is not the randomness, it's the expectation that creates the problem in the first place. And for that reason, if you're gonna play Genshin Impact, I advise you to go in with like no expectations or as few expectations as you can possibly have. Another specific area where I see people falling into the trap of having expectations is with unreleased characters. I see this all the time. Before a character is released and all we have is their design, everyone is in love and they have wild expectations for what this character is going to do. They're like, oh my gosh, not only is this character my waifu, this character is also going to break the game, and this character is going to do this and that and this and that and this and that. And the issue is that we can't test any of that out and none of that information is finalized. If you're getting information from beta testers or leakers, you're getting information that is not finalized. And that's why Mihoyo doesn't want us, or Hoyoverse doesn't want us to know that information, because then it creates an expectation for something that may or may not be in the game. And that can be bad for people's experiences. Now, I don't want to reference specific things that have happened, but there have definitely been times in the past where people have left the game due to having expectations about the game based on the beta, which is not finalized. I don't understand that one myself, but you know, it's just a warning for people to manage your expectations, because this is a game that has a lot of randomness, and this is also a game that is moving in a direction that is kind of unprecedented. Genshin Impact is one of the first games of its kind, and so expecting something that's not already a part of the game is always a crapshoot. And now we're going to move into the next topic about what will ruin Genshin Impact for you. But we're going to start this one out with a little quote from Teddy Roosevelt. Comparison is the thief of joy. And he's right. I mean, envy is a sin for a reason. And no, I'm not talking about Enviosity, our dear Genshin streamer. I'm talking about envy, like the sin, you know. And this one is a little less controversial and a little more just true, because like envy doesn't really do anyone good. You are at the specific point that you are at. You have what you have, you are who you are. That is just sort of the way things are. Comparing yourself to other people, you'll always find someone better off than you. You'll always find someone smarter than you, luckier than you. You know what I mean? And so comparing yourself to those people creates sort of like a needless emotional response. Like, there is not a single person in this world who can't compare themselves to someone and find that someone else is better off or richer or happier. And that's not your job to worry about. As a matter of fact, what's more dangerous than the differences between you and other people is worrying about the differences between you and other people and comparing. When we're playing Genshin Impact, like mentioned before, we have all of this randomness and each account is unique and you have all of your special stuff. Comparing your account to anyone else's account is a terrible idea. Don't do it. Don't compare your account to a whale if you're free to play. That's obvious. But don't compare your account to other free to plays if you're free to play. Just don't compare to people in general. That is an easy way to make yourself feel like crap. Instead, compare yourself to yourself. You know, like look at your account today and then look at your account in a month and compare them. Did your account grow? Is it better? Do you have more units? Do you have stuff? Compare like that, but don't compare to other people's accounts and other people's luck, because it's only going to make you feel bad. This one is a lot more straightforward. but there's one more area of talking about comparison, and that's comparing individual units to each other in Genshin Impact. I see people do this all the time. They will, like, a unit will come out and they'll say it's like this unit but a different element. So like when Ganyu came out, everyone was saying this is just Cryo Amber. That's like the example I'll give. This is Cryo Amber, that's all she is, she's Cryo Amber. And so then people try to make these comparisons from one unit to another. And what we constantly find is that while these comparisons can have usefulness, they're often really, really inaccurate, because each individual character in Genshin Impact is designed to be really unique, and even characters that have similar mechanics can function pretty differently. So for that reason, it's just not a good idea to compare one unit to another unit, as they might engage in different roles in your party. They might have different elements which have different fundamental properties and different reactions. They may have a different weapon type, which opens up different synergies with other characters who have different elements. And it's just like, it's too complicated for comparison. Like when we try to compare even a main DPS to a main DPS, because there are different styles of main DPSs, it's really hard to say who's better or worse outside of a situational context. You know, like in a certain situation, one unit will outperform another, but in a different situation, that other unit that failed to perform well the last time might outperform the other unit this time. It's just kind of how the cookie crumbled. So yeah, don't compare your account to other accounts, and don't compare units too heavily to other units. It's fine to do on like sort of a surface level, but once you really start thinking about it, comparisons don't work very well for most Genshin Impact characters in general. And yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. Two things that will ruin Genshin Impact for you: expectation and comparison. They are things that will fundamentally poison your experience with Genshin Impact. And if you can avoid having a lot of expectations, and if you can avoid comparing yourself and your experience to other people, your experience with Genshin Impact will improve dramatically. I've seen tons of people quit over this kind of stuff. I've seen people quit because a unit was changed from the beta to the release. I've seen people quit because their friend pulled a unit that they couldn't get. You know, it's like these kinds of things happen, and they're an emotional response. And we want to blame the game, but really, maybe we should just be blaming ourselves. If you got all the way to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it very much. You know, just wanted to put out some thoughts and share some ideas with you. Hopefully this was interesting, thought-provoking, and all that jazz. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought of these two things and what you think ruins Genshin Impact for people. Is it resin? But anyway, with no further ado, I'll let you go. Drop a like on the video and join my Discord, link in the description. Would love to have you there. As always, stay healthy, stay hydrated. Peace, everybody.